It's E3, it's like Christmas for gamers, and 2015 has been one hell of a year.
Cheers,
I'm
hot.
joined by John from
Nice
Avalanche,
eyes.
here to talk a little bit about Mad Max.
Merry Christmas. by the way.
Merry Christmas indeed. And
You're
what a
so
year it's
funny.
been. But Mad Max is coming out in a couple of months now.
1st of September.
1st of September.
Yep.
So the movie obviously just kind of steamrolled over all the box office. But this game, it was originally going to be a tie-in. Is that right?
Nope.
No?
Never intended to be a
Never
tie-in.
intended to be a tie-in.
No.
You are a complete standalone.
Totally standalone.
Totally standalone.
So, I mean, I'd describe it as, it's obviously a huge open world action adventure.
I wonder if there's...
It's set in the post-apocalyptic universe that's
Nice
made
open
famous
world.
by the films. So there are links,
Obviously,
and we spent a lot of time
Mad Max
making
is
sure
obviously
that
notorious for
they
being rare.
resonate
Guns
in the
because
game itself.
Bullets
But,
and stuff's rare, so I wonder if it's going to be
it's
more
a unique
hand-to-hand
or
melee.
original storyline,
Maybe,
original
yeah.
characters, apart from
Doubt
Max and his antagonist Scrotus, who's
Yep.
part
Yeah,
of that world.
Looking
And
at
an
it,
original
looks like
world
because
built
he only had
like,
one
from
bullet
scratch
for his shotgun
to
there.
rival the best open worlds that are out there.
So it feels like
And
it's
you can
it's tonally.
Chain attacks
it's
ago, that's cool.
the successor. Like tonally, it's there.
Um,
It's
Yeah,
not
sure.
necessarily a direct adaptation
Oh,
of
no, it had
any
3 bullets.
particular Max storyline.
Not at all.
It's the tone and the feel of the world.
Right,
Yep.
he's got 2
So
bullets
it's
left.
if you are familiar with
It's good
Avalanche
to camp and take
Studios
your
games,
pranks.
one of the
Ah, it's
things
the-
that we think
the-
is
the fuel, man.
important is to promote the world itself to be one of the main characters.
Yes.
Also,
so,
you have to,
we're
can
trying
unlock
to,
parts and
we
upgrade
spent
your car and
a
your
lot of
guns as you
time
go. Nice.
getting inspiration and sources from some of the movies, a lot of the lore of Max, stuff that's written about him, and we obviously want to faithfully represent that in the world, but it's a completely new setting,
Yeah.
new
The cast
story,
called the
really
Magnum
cool
Opus.
characters. They're obviously reminiscent of all of they're quirky, they're unique, grotesque sometimes, deformed.
Is that a fun way of doing it? I mean, because you're not really under the pressure of creating something that's identical to what we know. You can leave your own mark on it.
Yeah, well, we had a lot of freedom to make a game. I mean, we can't make a game, or maybe you could, but it's not the Avalanche style. We really wanted to make something that is, you feel like Mad Max, and then you feel you want to explore a huge open wasteland, and you want to be the author of your own story. We don't want to force a story upon
Oh,
you.
what is that now? A checkpoint? or-
Obviously, the
Yeah.
overarching
Is that no good to look at?
arc is always the same for Max. He starts off insane,
Oh.
he gets close to humanity. The closer he gets, the more he brings disaster upon the people he's
screw
close to, and then he kind of whiplashes back to teetering on the brink of insanity again. So that's his arc, but the
Not a
story...
very heavy topic at all.
No.
So let's talk a little bit about the wasteland. So you've got this huge open space. How have you managed to sort of fill that and keep it interesting? Things that to engage
Does
the
look
player.
not bad.
Yep. So
It does look alright.
from the first
Weird,
moment,
but
it
good.
will look like a desolate
different
and,
style.
and sort of
bit
open,
different to
huge
what we
open
normally
expanse. But we started off, when we envisaged the world, we started off by building a real city.
Yeah.
So we have an oil refinery, which is Gastown. It has pipes leading to oil rigs that are in the sea bottom. The sea actually has a volcano as well. There's a industrial area that services the oil refinery, an airport close by, a financial district, bridges, and then we threw the apocalypse
Got food and water levels.
at the world. So a lot of it's covered up.
Yep.
The seabed is dried out. So initially, it will look like a sort of desolate
Defeat the
expanse.
conqueror.
Yeah.
But if you take the time to invest in exploration and you
Octane
look
even.
for the clues about how was this world built and how did
Yeah.
it function, and you'll find things like sewers and subway
It's gonna be
stations
so cool
and maybe
if
even
I can
churches
think
and
what do you think
diners
about
and all that sort of stuff. So
fuel,
you
uh,
can piece
food,
together
drink.
how the
Everything
world
basically.
worked and what it would have looked like before the apocalypse.
Oh, look, a
It's
quick
kind of nice
sniper
that you've done
rifle.
it that way because it's not in a way where it's completely spelled out for you. There's a nice, there's a hint of mystery
Wonder
to
how
it.
it feels
Absolutely.
like to drive.
We
so
want
that's
to
a-
reward you for exploring it.
Fucked up.
Of course.
Wind
So how
farms
do you
and
keep
that.
the player kind of engaged? And so, I mean, it is a big open world. It's just dying to be explored. But how do you sort of steer them back onto the main story?
Yep. Well, we're not too aggressive about steering people. There are a couple of times where you will you'll want to hopefully re-engage with the main characters.
Nudge.
Yeah, exactly. But we're totally open to players kind of eking out their own
I
trajectory
like
through
open
the
world
open
games
world.
where you just get to do whatever you want, like Grand Theft
We
Auto.
have the world is filled with both
Because I do
sort
like
of
I do
main
like to play the main
storyline
story, and
related
I always
content,
do,
and
but
also
not all the
tons of
time.
activities and
Exactly.
encounters.
Part of the enjoyment of the game is going and
Random
doing
encounters.
shit on
You
your
can
own.
work the world.
For
You can
days,
build up
I could spend days doing
alliances
shit like
with some
random,
of the,
and then
like
just
the
go
people
back
who
to
are
the
not
story
affiliated
eventually.
with Scrotus. Scrotus is your arch enemy.
But
You can build up alliances with
most
those, and
games
you
should
can
be
spend
fucking
time
open
just
world
working
now.
and helping
Aye.
their strongholds.
It's
People get
sophisticated
healthy.
enough
They
technology
start
that you can
making
do it now.
car parts for you,
Obviously, it
or
depends
building a
on the
water
style of the
source so
game,
that you
but-
can
Well, aye,
you have
aye.
food and
Some
water.
of them
So
kinda
there's,
have to
there's
be
a lot to
linear,
do
but-
apart from just, seeing how Max's relationship with the main story characters evolves.
So let's talk about the main story.
Yep.
So Max is on the quest to build his magnum opus.
Exactly.
The car of dreams, the car to end all cars.
shit.
How's he going to go about doing that in the wasteland?
He probably
Fucking
would have been
full-boot
fine
sniper
just
rifle.
taking his interceptor and like getting out of dodge, but he had a tussle with Scrotus and his war boys at the start of the game. So he's been stripped of his interceptor, stripped
he's
of
lost his famous
clothes,
car.
Oh.
left for dead.
Oh, nice.
shit.
And that's where you start the game as Max, and you basically have to. Your journey is to
He's
look
left
for
for
a body.
dead quite a lot.
Luckily,
Mad
you
Max.
meet a companion,
Yeah.
the unfortunately named Chumbucket, who is a
Chumbucket.
no
wasteland
way.
Blackfinger,
No
a
fucking way.
mechanical
Oh.
fanatic, and
Oh, right
vehicles
under the
and
wheel as well.
motors and mechanic life. It's almost a religion to him.
Yeah.
So he helps you as the player, or Max, look for the basis of
I'll
the vehicle that you're
definitely
going to
be
drive,
getting this,
and then
like-
you spend time turning it into a vehicle where Max feels, okay, now finally I have something that is powerful and sturdy enough that I can survive getting out of this area, and ultimately he wants some peace of mind. So the key thing that Max insists on having is a V8 engine rather than a V6, because he thinks he needs to be able to outrun any sort of terror
It's
that
good
he
have
encounters
to
in the
worry
wasteland.
about your car
Yeah.
as much as your
So how did you
person.
go
eh?
about customizing his car? Because I mean, obviously the wasteland's going to be filled with car parts, either obtained legally or illicitly.
So that must be the help
How
on
does
the
he go about
right-hand
adding them
side, the
to the
green
magnum
bit.
opus?
Well,
car help.
one of the
You've
basic
got your
mechanics
fuel.
is that he goes around and looks for scrap, and he enlists the help of some of these stronghold leaders.
Or maybe
Yeah.
your experience
So
by
they
actually.
are not willing just to give
Nah, I
him
think that
charity,
is the help.
so he has to do things in return
Yeah.
for them helping him further his car. But there are some project parts in the wasteland in some of Scrotus's camps. He can infiltrate camps, and he can find more valuable pieces. There are also, he can take down some of Scrotus's convoys, either from a distance, sniping, or tackle them head on if he feels he's got a powerful.
With the shotgun, surely. That
Yeah,
is-
exactly. Shotgun is always there in the magnum opus,
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of other weapons that you can use. The trademark Avalanche harpoon,
Yes. of
which you'll
course.
see in the footage
I
as
was
well.
going to say that was very well timed, because
Yeah.
this is some of the vehicular combat,
Yeah.
which you guys have been shouting about, and it looks great. How does it work? Oh, here we go. It's kind of got like a bullet time.
Yeah, so there are moments when we want to help you aim with some of the weapons. The harpoon is a powerful, versatile weapon. It can attach, it can rip armor off, it can pull drivers out through the windscreen, it can
versatile.
turn the harpoon, pull off
What, he just
wheels
pulled
like
the
you see there.
tail? That's quality.
It can also be used to shoot thunder sticks, which is like the pole with an incendiary
Got a
device on the top,
severe
almost
knock-on,
like a rocket
Oh,
launcher.
that guy was going to jump in his car there.
This car also has something called side burners, which are two flamethrowers attached to either side.
Of course.
So there's a
there
bunch
you
of
go.
different weaponry.
I knew he was going to jump.
You see,
Like the other guy
I
jumped
think
in
you
the
can see
car.
Chumbucket hiding in the back there. He's
Yep.
hiding now because there's a boarder trying to attack Max. Hopefully Max will be able to shake off the boarder.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
Chumbucket comes back out, and he's going to help you. If your car gets in trouble, he'll
Yep.
climb onto the front and start putting out fires with his flamethrower,
It's like a human
or with his
R2.
fire extinguisher.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, and all of that happens in the heat of battle.
Yeah.
You saw some sparks there as Max has upgraded his car to include rims that can shred enemy chassis. And then you saw him using his
There's still quite a
shotgun
few cars
and
left,
targeting
like it's frantic.
a fuel tank that was on the back of an enemy vehicle.
It's quite
to blow
cool.
him up.
So how do you? So when your car is badly damaged, do you just take it to a garage and Chumbucket will fix it up?
Just stop the car.
Oh look, that's
and
what
Chum
that
will
is.
climb on the roof,
You scroll
climb out to
through,
the
it
front
shows
of
you
the
what
car
weapon you put in
and
the centre bit
start
of
putting out fires and
the
tinkering
gas
with his
gauge bit.
toolbox.
So an interesting thing I read about is that there's a kind of risk reward when it comes to upgrading and customizing your car, because you might add one thing, but it will negatively impact
you get
something
you
else.
get
You're
different parts and you
extremely
get
well
to level them
informed.
up.
I
Like his
know, it's
harpoon's
almost
up
as
to
if
level
I
5.
did my research.
Whereas that electric shock thing, whatever
No,
it
I
was,
mean,
was
so
on
how
level 2.
have you been able to balance that?
Yeah, so when you go into the garage, initially early on in development we had the garage was available as a physical location inside each of these strongholds. So as soon as you got entrance and made an uneasy alliance with a stronghold leader, you could set up a garage there and Chumbucket would add parts and so on. But just to enable gamers to
Holy fuck.
experiment
That was a
and
huge
try
explosion.
out different tactics, we've actually moved that to the menu system now. So
Right.
from anywhere inside gameplay you can bring up the garage menu, tinker with your car, try out different tactics, and you will see,
Shit
so
driver.
for example, let's say you put a massive ramming grill on the front of your car.
Yeah.
There are some statistics that you will see that will
Right,
give you
that
an
helps
indication
them
on
to
how it's going to
basically
affect
note later.
handling and acceleration and traction and all that sort of stuff. So if your car is too heavy, you simply won't get any traction and you'll have to find tires or an engine that will match well with that ramming
that's
grill
quite
that
cool.
you've
So
just
you have to
installed.
actually...
So it's not about maxing everything out.
I wonder if you
it's
can
about
strip and
finding
change for
something that
different
suits
jobs
your
or
style
what?
of play. You may want to build a tank that can just
Kinda
ram
like
through
if you need to
everything,
be faster
but
for
that
one
will
and
have
fucking
weaknesses when it comes to
change
rocky
out some of the
terrain
parts.
and being
Right.
nimble and trying
Make it a
to,
wee speeder.
you know, you don't want to be a beached whale.
Depending on what
No,
you want
get
to do.
exactly.
by a
It's
bunch
Always
of
a
not
enemies.
gonna
convoy you want
clip
or
fucking
something.
muscle.
So when it comes to infiltrating
Whereas
fortresses,
if you're just going on
are
like
there different ways you can go about doing that? Can you
I
go?
don't know,
Can
a
you
supply
stealth
run,
in,
you want to
or
be
is it
fast as possible.
shotgun first, questions later?
Yeah, there are. We definitely want to encourage the player to scout out locations.
Nice, I
A
like
lot
that.
of these,
Destroying the mounted
Scrotus's
fuel
camps
tanks.
have pretty heavy perimeter defenses. Things like thunderstick launchers on towers. They have snipers. Some of them have back entrances.
Yep.
One feature I really like is the fact that
Just
if you pull the
parts
driver
strewn
out of a car that
across the
belongs to
fucking ground.
Scrotus, get in that car.
Ah, the
Good
old
going,
approach
mate.
horse.
It's much easier for you to gain entrance. There are civilians out in the wasteland that if you
Just
approach
put a
them
head
right,
on
you
his
can get
hood.
information about
Fuck's
maybe there's a
sake.
side entrance or
Oh shit.
a particular weakness that a camp or a strong or a top dog in that camp might have. So lots of different ways to work the wasteland.
It's great. I mean, and how
That
big?
their
I mean,
mic's fucking up.
It
it's
must
one
be.
of it's the awful question: is how big is the wasteland? If you can give us a comparison
yeah,
to something
fuck
like Skyrim, seems to be the standard.
Okay, I don't know how big Skyrim is,
Big.
but I can say, true to any Avalanche game, Avalanche Studios game, the world is massive. Our engine supports an infinite world essentially. We have you can basically choose a direction and just keep driving.
Yeah.
In our game, it gets more and more treacherous the further outside the sort of the main area of mission
That makes it
content you
fucking
get.
pissing me off actually.
But it's big enough that whatever you see, you can go towards and interact with, and that's
I
part
thought
of
they
the
took
game.
the guys
Yeah.
out.
But it's also a sweet spot of ensuring that you have enough content to keep you engaged.
Yes.
There is a touch
Grenade.
of mystery. We want to. So, for example, another feature that we have in the game
That's
is
fucking cool, like.
But
picture
just
relics,
take him out
or
with
relics
it.
from the
Oh,
old
nice,
world.
first person.
Some of them are photos, some of them are notes from people. They're probably done just before the apocalypse. They're the remnants of the apocalypse. And again, if you explore, you'll find lots of treasure troves and hidden locations and interesting things about how the world's
Fuck was
demise
that?
came to pass.
So you're anticipating a big
Dunno,
long
they took
Wikipedia
out
full of all these
someone.
secrets then?
That would be
Lord
great.
the threat for
If-
some
if
reason.
some Mad Max game fan wants to put that together, that would be awesome.
So can you tell us when the game's out and when and which platforms we can play it on?
I can.
Yep.
Start of September 1st to September 4th, depending on the region. And it's out on PS4, Xbox One, and PC.
John, thank you so much for joining me. Cannot wait to play Mad Max.
My
Gonna
pleasure.
go try and hunt it down on the show floor later today. Make sure you stay tuned here on the GameSpot stage at E3. We've got so much more great stuff coming right up.
That's not bad. I mean, when I first saw it, I wasn't too fussed about it, but after seeing that and hearing about it, I'm up for a bit of that, like.
Aye, looks alright for a laugh.
Obviously that's just single player so far, so there's no word on if there's going to be multiplayer or co-op or anything like that. But
There might be some kind of fucking...
but even if it's a single player, I'll still get.
Aye.
Right, well, that's it for day 2 of E3. We'll have more videos for day 3 tomorrow.